This, the greatest offensive player in the history of the New York Football Giants. Now, of course, works with NBC, doing stuff with Yahoo. He's a media star because he's good looking and he's smart and he's got all that going on. The great number 21 of the Giants, my dear friend, Tiki Barber. Good morning, Tiki. How are you?
Sid Rosenberg, I'm doing very well. Your check is in the mail for continued promotion of my legacy with the New York Giants. Thank you. Thank you very much.
If that was my job to promote you, I'd be worth about $30 million.
And Lep would take care of it all. Lep Selter. You didn't hang out with him last night, did you?
No, he screwed me again. It's just, it's the same old thing, Teak. It's the same old thing. Every year, he's meeting me at a party with Lawrence, of course, our boy LT. And I tell everybody, LT's coming, Lep Selter's coming, and it's 12 o'clock. There's no Lep Selter, there's no Lawrence. It's 1 o'clock. And finally, at 2:30, I went home from Tootsie's last night. And the first text I got this morning was, did they ever show up?
Of course they did.
Of course not.
Of course they didn't. That's
drag
Lep Selter. He's out doing his own thing.
What was he doing last night?
I don't know. He tried to get me to come to some party. And guess what my text was this morning from Mark Lep Selter?
What's that?
Justin Bieber was here.
Justin?
And I said, are you kidding me? I am so glad I went to Hollywood, Florida, had a nice calm dinner, and didn't go to a party with Justin Bieber. I love Justin Bieber. He actually sung at my charity event at for the Children's Miracle Network. He's a good kid.
Yeah, but
he's
come
a
on.
kid.
He's
14
exactly.
years old.
Right. Oh, I know where he was last night. He was at Marvin, Moves Magazine.
Oh, the Moves,
he was at that party last night, right.
Yes.
But he'll be walking around today, and inevitably, what's funny about that is somebody always walks over and goes, that's a pretty big guy. Did he play for?
I know.
Because he works out with Carini.
You look at this, he works out with Carini, so he's got a big chest.
Right.
He's got, he looks like an athlete. But
Bald.
Then you scroll down to his calves, and they're about the size of a number 2 pencil.
He's got chicken legs, I know. But what you know is a guy, and Carini will tell you this. This is a trainer. His name is Joe Carini up in New Jersey.
Joe Carini, incidentally, who's made me who I was as a football player at the end of my career. Because
I don't know about that.
Physically, he made me who I was. He made me durable. He made me durable.
You guys both work out hard, you and Rondé, but he would always tell me, work on your legs. And I'm like, no, I just want to wear a short sleeve shirt, and I want to look like I've got some type of muscle. I don't care what my legs look at, and that's the problem.
You're fighting a losing battle there, Sid. It's all good. You look great.
It is what it is, I mean, I'm never going to be a pin-up model, Teak. I'm never going to be a running back in the National Football League, but I'm okay with that. Now, what's funny is everybody wants to talk to Tiki Barber. I get it.
Good legs. I'm saying.
Right.
But it's like I'm the expert now on how to fix fumbling. And really, it was, I don't want to say it was simple, but it was simple.
Yeah.
It's mechanics. It's physics. It's figuring out how to do things the right way and not be focused on looking cool with how you're running with the football. Everybody's not Walter Payton back in the 1980s where he could hold the ball with one hand and juke and do all this stuff with the ball out. They didn't teach defensive backs and linebackers and linemen how to strip then. They just kind of make the tackle. Just do anything you can do and make the tackle. Now it's wrap up and then strip. And if you're not cognizant of it, it's not going to happen. But honestly, it's an easy fix. All it is someone drilling into Adrian Peterson's head. If you don't hold the ball this way, you're going to fumble. And if you keep fumbling, you're not going to play. That's what Coach Coughlin did with me.
Right.
He said, I love you.
Right.
You're a great player, but if you keep fumbling, you're a liability and you're not going to play. And it was simple as that.
Yeah, but there were rumors like Tiki would go to sleep with the ball.
That's the program type. Yeah. What movie was that where they had the guy walking around with the program?
I think it was the program.
It's mythology. It was Gerald Ingram, who was my running back coach, drilling into my head, whether I was running on a treadmill, doing cone drills, hold the ball high and tight. And if I would slack it down, he'd find me. He'd just be over my shoulder all the time. Pick it back up. Right. And so it got to the point where it pissed me off. And so instead of keeping it high, I had it really high and tight, really up above my chest, and it's stayed there all times to the point where when I got into football games, it was just second nature to do it.
Sure.
And so it's all about someone staying on you and being diligent with you. And honestly, with Adrian, because he's so great, it's hard to tell him that he's making mistakes. And this was kind of the same thing with Eli early in his career. Nobody wanted to talk to him and tell him straight up what he needed to fix about himself. And it took a couple of years for him to evolve. Obviously, he's turned into a very good quarterback.
Right.
But sometimes you need tough love, and that's the only way you can. You do this You do it with your kids.
I agree.
Why not do it with an athlete?
Would have been nice if he would have evolved the year before he evolved.
It's all good. It's all good. Life is timing. It sucks, but it's all good.
You know what's funny is, again, talking here to the all-time great Tiki Barber is, I just sat with Jim Kelly, right?
Yeah.
I went to 4 Super Bowls.
I know.
That's pretty good, Tiki.
It is pretty
He
good.
didn't win any, but he went to 4. But, I was watching the NFL
4 in a row.
4 in a row, exactly. I'm watching the NFL Network last week, and they're re-showing. In a half hour, they show all the old Super Bowls. And I'm watching your game against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, at one point, you had a 27-yard run that was the longest gain of the game for the Giants.
Yep.
And really, outside of Dixon's kick return, there was no offense. It was, Kerry Collins had a rough day.
Yeah.
When you look back now, 10 years ago, that Super Bowl, is it still, I'm glad I had the chance to play in one, or Teak, is it the way that game went down, as badly as we lost, I'm better off not playing in one?
No. I'm glad that we played in the game because it's the ultimate stage, and it gives you an exposure to something that most football players, I won't say most because a lot of guys play in the game, but a lot of guys never get to experience, which is the hype and the hoopla and the stage itself. That in itself is worth it. Obviously, we know what happened in the game. We really had no chance from the very beginning because this defense is one of the best, and a lot of people consider the best that's ever played. They had a scheme that most people can't replicate.
Plus, the game was fixed because when
with the holding call on Keith Hamilton on the screenplay.
I mean, give me a break.
And he just hooked his. You don't call that in the Super Bowl, but whatever.
Right. Armstead's got a touchdown. They call it back on a defensive Keith Hamilton holding
At that point, it's 10-7 going into halftime.
Right.
We don't go in and make stupid halftime adjustments, get into our 2-minute offense, and Kerry Collins those 5 interceptions in the second half, and then you'd say La Vie and the Baltimore Ravens with Trent Dilfer, who I like, but is not a great quarterback, wins Super Bowl.
He was
35.
great that day. Stokely is still open. And you got to be careful, Teak, because guys get very sensitive. Like you mentioned, Kerry.
Yeah.
Do not bring up that game to Kerry. Don't.
Yeah.
Right. So Gannon does the show here to my left. Rich won an MVP, Teak. Got to the Super Bowl and had about as bad a game as Kerry.
He had a worse game. He threw 6 interceptions.
Yeah, you're right, he did. But you can't bring that up. It's like with Larry Zonka. He's a Hall of Fame running back. You can talk to him for 15 minutes about his Super Bowls. He's the best running fullback ever. God forbid you bring up his sergeant trying to hand him the football against Herman Edwards and the Eagles. He'll kill you. Like, what's wrong with these guys? Why are they so sensitive?
You know why? Because those negative things, those negative things live with you longer than the positive things. It's a crazy thing.
That's what my wife says, by the way. Those negative things keep living with you.
What's the guy's name? Bill Buckner, right?
Oh, yeah.
Bill Buckner. He was a good first baseman.
Great.
He was great.
Yeah.
He had one bad play. I mean, and it wasn't even in the deciding game of the World Series.
Game 6.
It was Game 6 of the World Series.
Yeah.
One bad play, and that's all anybody will ever remember him for. And it's a shame. It's kind of, made him be a recluse. You don't hear about him.
He had to run out. It's Phil Mushnick's fault. That's who. It's guys like that. It's the media, Mushnick and Raceman and Mike and Chris. I mean, those are the guys, right? The sleepless nights, Tiki Barber.
Exactly. It's so much more fun to talk about the bad things than the good things. But we look for the good things for inspiration, and us optimists.
Yes.
I'm an optimist.
Yes.
Like to look at the good things.
Okay, then tell me this, looking at the good things. Are you ready, Tiki Barber, to proclaim Peyton Manning as the greatest quarterback to ever play this game?
If he wins this Super Bowl,
yes,
I have to say so.
Let's say, but he wins the game, but he's not all that impressive. They win 17-14. Adai has a big game. Does he have to be good?
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
If he's not impressive, they don't win the game.
Fair enough.
It is what it is. And, I've never seen him not impressive. Maybe there's stretches where he has bad games. Or a bad series, but he has never played a whole game and been completely unimpressive. Even in talking to my brother about Peyton, you remember that game like 3 years ago? The Bucs were beating them by like 20 points.
Yeah.
And then with like 5 minutes to go.
He won the